You know the systems need fixing. You see it every day. The duplicated efforts, the manual workarounds, the information that is scattered across too many places. You understand the problem, but you need to prove to leadership that changing it is worth the investment. This is a common position to be in no matter what department you're leading. It could be operations, marketing, sales, finance. Point is, you know things could be better, and you may even have a reasonable idea of how to make those things better. What you need is a way to quantify the costs of the current state, which can be hard to do. Cost is spread across dozens small inefficiencies, so they don't show up in one line of a report, which means leadership is not talking about operational debt unless someone is bringing it to them deliberately. This video is to help you quantify those costs so that you have a business case to present to your leadership team. Your initial instinct may be to describe the problem, to explain how the team is spending time on things they shouldn't be, how the tools don't talk to each other and that creates so much more effort, how information is scattered and it's hard to find. And even though your complaint is valid, it's easy to defer. We'll look at it after the next growth phase. We'll revisit this in Q3. But when you're able to provide a calculated number showing exactly how much this messy system is costing them, they're much more likely to take you seriously and want to take action. When the cost of doing nothing becomes visible, doing nothing stops being a neutral choice. So before you can start making a compelling case, you need to quantify what staying the same is costing the business. It might feel a little speculative, but the method is straightforward, and even conservative estimates can make the case clearly. There are 3 costs to calculate. First, the time cost. Take the number of people affected by the inefficiencies, and then estimate how many hours each person is spending doing tasks that a better system would be handling automatically. Think about how much time they're doing manual data entry, searching for information that's in the wrong place, duplicating effort, chasing updates that should just be visible. Then multiply that by their hourly cost. Multiply that by 48 working weeks. That is your annual time cost in most businesses. This is not a small number. Research from McKinsey shows that workers spend about 1/5 of their week chasing updates from coworkers or searching the system for information. Sana's own UK data shows that over 200 hours per person per year is used on duplicated work alone. Even if you have a small team that is doing half the amount of those hours, that number is still really significant. Second is the error cost. Manual data entry runs at about a 1 to 1.5% error rate. Each error that travels through a connected system costs anywhere from 40 to 120 pounds to fix, once you account for time to spot it, correct it, and then communicate the correction. Estimate how many manual entries or transfers your team makes each week, apply a 1% error rate, and then multiply by a conservative correction cost. The third is your revenue leakage cost. Disconnected processes allow 1 to 3% of revenue to go unbilled or untracked through missed follow-ups, lost quotes, uninvoiced work that all fall through the gaps between systems. Multiply your approximate revenue by 1% for a conservative estimate of what's leaking. Now add those 3 costs together. That is your estimated annual cost of the current state of operations. If the number feels high after you've calculated it, that's the point. This cost has always been there. It's just never been visible on a report before. Now, if leadership comes back to you with some version of, "We'll come back to this when things calm down," or "Let's wait until after the next growth phase," the problem with that logic is that it's treating the problem as if it's going to cost the same to fix later as it is to fix now. It won't. Operational debt compounds. Every growth phase added on top of a disconnected system makes the eventual fix more expensive and more disruptive. The workarounds that feel manageable with a team of 10 need twice the manual effort for a team of 20 and create 4 times the confusion because now more people are involved in handoffs. McKinsey's research shows that 10 to 20% of every new project and new initiative's budget goes to resolving issues caused by existing disconnected systems. The next hire absorbs the same manual processes. The next growth phase multiplies the duplication. The cheapest time to fix this is now, not later. Here's a useful question you can ask the leadership team. If our team doubles in the next 2 years, what does our current way of working look like with twice the amount of people trying to operate it? Once you've made the cost of the current state of operations visible, you need to balance it out with evidence of what fixing it will deliver. There's a good amount of published research on this. Businesses with integrated systems are 2.5 times more likely to achieve cost and time efficiencies than those running on siloed systems. Forrester's data on organizations that properly implemented systems integration shows a 30% improvement in productivity. UK case studies of businesses that consolidated their tools show up to a 50% reduction in daily admin. In some cases, staff had been spending 1 to 3 hours a day just moving between platforms. By the way, you don't need to cite all of these research findings in your pitch to your leadership team. Pick 2 or 3 outcomes that are most relevant to your specific situation, and then describe what they would mean for your team concretely. When it comes to your pitch, be as specific as possible about what would change, what would be built or fixed, who would be involved. Give a realistic timeline. Provide a cost estimate, or be clear that getting that estimate would be the first step. If the full scope feels like a big commitment to get approval in one go, use a phased approach instead. The first phase will need to deliver something concrete and measurable so that leadership will have the evidence they need to commit to the second phase. For the first phase, an audit is a great place to start. It'll give you a clear picture of what needs to be fixed and in what order. Now let's talk about some questions that leadership may ask you so that you're prepared to answer them. If they ask how confident you are in the numbers, be honest that they're estimates based on conservative assumptions drawn from published research. If they question if the team will actually use a new system, the research is clear that adoption depends on if the system is built around how the team is actually working, instead of being imposed on top of it. That's why the process matters more than the tool. Your proposal needs to include how the team will be trained and how they'll be supported through the transition. If they say they've tried this before and it didn't work, this was probably due to poor scoping, inadequate training, or choosing and building inside of a tool without first mapping the processes. Properly structured overhaul will address all those failure points specifically. If they ask why now, explain that every growth phase added on top of a disconnected system raises the eventual cost of fixing them. The longer you wait, the more expensive the fix will be. If you have found this helpful, I've actually put together a free template that will help you make your business case to leadership. It includes the research summaries, the cost calculation tables, and suggested answers to the questions that leadership is likely to ask. Everything's pre-written, you just add the numbers and the context. I'll leave the link below for you. Operational debt is invisible until someone puts a number on it. Once you do, it's a lot harder for anyone to look away.